I'm Scott Ryder, and welcome to my video series in which I ride the Mae Hong Son Loop, a famous road trip in northern Thailand. This was my first trip to Thailand. I flew directly to Chiang Mai to rent the bike and started the loop the next day. We begin here by leaving the city of Chiang Mai, and we will soon start winding our way up the phenomenal roads to Doi Inthanon, the highest point in Thailand. The trip is approximately 600 kilometers in total and takes us through 1,864 corners.
Leaving Chiang Mai.
I originally planned to do some voiceover whilst on the bike. However, I found myself so engrossed by the riding that I didn't really stick to that plan. I will provide some narration throughout the series, commenting on the experience, and some thoughts and feelings I had throughout the tour. I'm on the Yamaha MT-07, which proved to be the perfect choice, living up to its illustrious reputation. It satisfied my lust for speed, agility, and instilled absolute confidence. I trusted the bike totally, and it rewarded me with the greatest riding experience I could have asked for. I was inspired to take this trip after having to deal with a particularly brutal series of events and really needing a break from regular life. I could have never predicted the enormous impact this motorcycle tour would have on me, but more on that later. For now, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Riding up the road to the summit of Doi Inthanon was the real introduction to the quality of riding that's on offer in Thailand. Until this point, I had cruised for an hour or so on the highway, taken some fairly uninspired back roads, and even found myself on untarmac stretches. But now the real Mae Hong Son experience begins, with endless twists and turns on beautifully smooth asphalt. I started to get to know my bike, and we began to form that unspeakable bond between rider and machine. It felt at home here on the Twisties, and I was eager to let it show me what it could do. I should point out that this is by far the most powerful bike I've ever ridden. Back home I had a 400cc naked bike, which only had 44 horsepower from factory. Unfortunately, that bike was stolen, which in a way prompted me to take this trip, since I could not afford to replace that bike even after my insurance paid out. I was desperately missing riding. I derived great thrills from being exposed to the world with just two wheels beneath me, pulling me along, leaning through turns, becoming one with the machine. I find motorcycling gets me into that flow state, which is so meditative and therapizing. On the topic of therapy, shortly before my bike was stolen, I lost one of my closest friends. I knew she was struggling, and I'd been encouraging her to get into riding bikes as well, and she'd begun looking into getting her learner license. Unfortunately, her burden became too much to bear. She could not see how bright her future could be. The endless possibilities and joys of life became overshadowed and completely obscured. A real tragedy. I don't know if she ever would have shared my passion for motorcycling. I only knew she saw how her quality of life in the city could be greatly improved with a moped. But there was a spark there, and I hoped I could nurture it. She was born in Thailand, and often on my trip I found myself yearning for her company, to share my experience of her country with her. I even imagined a future in which we rode here together. So even though I felt I was in Elysium, riding through this paradise and fulfilling my dreams, I still carried a burden. I miss my friend. I love her, and I empathize with her, but I hate what she did. For leaving me and everyone who loved her, denying us more time with her and her beautiful way of seeing the world. All I could do now was live my life to the best of my ability. That is my duty to her and to myself. I believe it is a duty we all share, whether we care or not. Now, I'm just going to let the footage of my ride up the mountain play uninterrupted. This road is a true delight to riders, and I wholly encourage anyone with the means to get out here to come and experience it themselves. I hope you enjoy the ride. Thanks for listening to my story, and again, I apologize for the wind noise. As I arrived at the top of the mountain, I find myself trembling with adrenaline and excitement. I'm overwhelmed with the roads, the bike, the weather, and my reality. I literally have to pinch myself because it feels like I'm dreaming. I have 4 more days with this bike and 2 whole weeks to enjoy myself in this incredible country. I have so much footage to edit and post, and I can't wait to share my experience with you here. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 where I descend Doi Inthanon and head to Mae Hong Son. Peace. Thailand, land of smiles, insane street food, stunning roads, and for me, the place where I fell in love all over again, with life, with freedom, and with this, the motorbike. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm taking you on a little journey, not just through Thailand's roads, but through my story, my passions, and my next big move. I'm going to share why I fell in love with Thailand, some stories from my motorbiking adventures there, and I'm going to be telling you all about my move. So grab a coffee, buckle up, or zip up, because you know bikers don't buckle. Let's get to it. As we get going on these incredible roads in Thailand, I've got to tell you how I even got here. I only passed my motorbike test last February, but even before that, before I was legally allowed to ride, I went and bought myself a bike. I remember it like yesterday. I found a deal online for a Spark Pillion 401. It's Husqvarna made, Neo Retro Scrambler. Brilliant little single cylinder 400cc naked bike. Super lightweight and agile, and in my opinion, stunning. It was a few hours from where I lived, but it didn't matter. I hired a van, drove down, and picked it up like a kid at Christmas. 2,500 quid, well spent. As soon as I passed my test, I was on that thing every chance I got. The city suddenly felt smaller, like I'd unlocked some secret level. I was weaving through traffic, riding it to work every day, feeling that addictive freedom only a bike can give you. But the real fun, that came on my days off. I'd suit up and head for the countryside. B-roads became my playground, zipping along, wind in my face, finding random little pubs and hidden lanes. That was my first real taste of what biking gives you. Immense freedom, a sense of being completely alive, and honestly, a little bit of rebelliousness. I didn't waste time in customizing my bike. I got the new Leo Vinci exhaust, a new chain, a fueling map, all sorts of mods, and it gave me some pretty impressive performance gains. I once clocked 116 miles an hour, which is far higher than the claimed top speed. Must have been a strong tailwind. But the bike wasn't just a way to get around, you know, she was my baby, my most prized possession. And then she was gone. 8 months later, after buying it, I woke up at 3 AM and could hear bad sounds, so jumping out of bed and realizing what was happening, I ran outside, but it was too late. 2 guys had gone with my bike. They cut through the heavy chain, the disc lock, smashed the steering lock in minutes, and despite having 2 trackers fitted, they were both dead after 15 minutes. I called the police, but you can probably guess how that went. And, when the insurance payout came through, I was still down about £3,000, you know, so I couldn't afford to replace her, and it felt like someone had ripped a part out of me. I think the universe thought my karma was out of whack, because a couple months later I entered a raffle for a motorbike and I won. I'm not kidding, against all odds I actually won a bike in a raffle. So maybe I'm just insanely lucky bastard, maybe it's my karma. Either way, I took it as a sign. I had to make the most out of this, and so that's how I found myself out here, riding the most beautiful country I could have ever imagined, Thailand. This footage was from day one of my journey riding the Mae Hong Son Loop. In my last video you saw me leave Chiang and climb all the way to the summit of Doi Inthanon, the highest point in Thailand. Now I'm descending. The air's cooler, the jungle's thicker, and I'm winding my way through endless hairpin turns, riding under canopies so dense that the light barely touches the road. Every few minutes I'd burst out into these open stretches with insane views, lush rolling hills as far as the eye can see. Northern Thailand really blew me away. And if you stick around to the end of this video, you're going to see something special. As the sun sets, the landscape lights up in this golden glow. The photos and videos just don't do it justice. The Mae Hong Son Loop was the ride I came out here for. I'd read about it for months back home. It's legendary. Over 600 kilometers of near perfect tarmac, 1,864 curves, and views that make you pull over every 5 minutes because you can't believe what you're seeing. Most people tackle this trip on a little moped or a scooter, but you know me. I've got the bug for big bikes. Twisting the throttle and hearing the engine roar through the hills, it's pure bliss. And these roads, unreal. Perfectly banked corners, light traffic, just enough unpredictability to keep you sharp. 1 minute it's smooth tarmac, wide open road, and the next you're dodging a dog taking a nap in the middle of the lane, or a truck creeping around a blind bend. I did make a bit of a rookie mistake. The plan was to stop in Mae Yang for one night, and then ride on to Mae Hong Son Town the next day. Simple enough, right? But in my excitement, or maybe I was just too busy grinning like an idiot in my helmet, I accidentally routed straight to Mae Hong Son Town. And no regrets though, Mae Hong Son is a gem. A small town surrounded by mountains, with a night market that absolutely comes alive after dark. I checked into my hostel, £17 a night, private room, not bad at all. I was about to walk into town when the hotel manager offered me a lift. Just typical Thai kindness. I wandered the night market, bought myself a Mae Hong Son t-shirt, and headed over to Wat Chong Klang, this beautiful lakeside temple glowing under the night lights. The reflection of the golden spires on the water, unreal. Then came dinner. For £1, it's probably the best meal I ever had. A bowl of spicy khao soi nearly made me weep with joy and pain. Because to be fair, the extreme spice did come back to haunt me the next morning. But it was delicious. I did discover a certain thing that you need to bear in mind if you're going to have super spicy food out in the middle of the backcountry Thailand is, once you start your trip the next day, you might find yourself having to use the toilet. And on the road, not so many options. You will find little rest stops. What I did find is that obviously they have the bum gun in true Thai fashion, which is great. We all love the bum gun. But for then drying yourself afterwards, not really anything there. So at one point I did have to use the toilet as a matter of emergency, thanks to last night's dinner of course. And after using the bum gun I realised, oh, no towels. So the good thing is, being in Thailand, you can just pull your trousers back up, sit your wet bum back on the bike, but within 20-30 minutes you're totally dried out because everything's so hot. So moving past how we discovered you should always carry some tissues with you, I then began to make my way to the next stop, and that would be a small town called Ban Rak Thai on the Thailand-Myanmar border. And the road there blew my mind. Out of all of these incredible roads in the area, the road up to Ban Rak Thai really was a highlight. But you have to tune into the next video to see that. As I mentioned earlier, I'm now moving to Thailand. This footage you're seeing, it's from my trip back in February. That trip wasn't just for fun. It was, in a way, a test run. I went out there thinking, maybe I could live here. But let's see if the idea actually makes sense once I'm on the ground. Of course, the second I got there, I realised absolutely yes. This is where I want to live. Now, just about half a year later, I'm packing up and heading there for at least a year. So, why am I doing this? Well, I told you all about having my bike stolen back home, and that's just one piece of it. Honestly, I suppose you could say I'm fleeing the UK. Bear with me while I break it down, and I'll explain why Thailand feels like the fix. First off, cost. Back in London, after the theft, I was looking at getting back on the road. It was going to be a downgrade. Sure, I won another bike in the raffle, but I took the cash alternative and poured a big chunk of it into my trip. Could I buy another bike in the UK now? Yeah, but the reality is I'd get absolutely shafted on insurance. And you gotta remember, most of the year in the UK, it's not really very good weather for riding anyway. It's normally wet, cold, it's hardly like that in Thailand. And for the kind of bikes I want to ride, most companies wouldn't even offer me a policy. In Thailand though, insurance on big bikes is about £200 a year. Fuel is cheaper too, and the risk of theft, practically non-existent compared to London. Out here, I can actually own and enjoy the bikes I dream about, without feeling like I'm constantly looking over my shoulder. Another big reason I'm moving, I was made redundant from my job quite recently as well. I'd spent the last 3 years trying to break into the industry. Finally got my foot in the door last year, and then earlier this year, in a merger with another company, I was made redundant, and the management completely let me down. There was zero communication, had no idea what was happening, and my career was totally derailed. I could try and rebuild it, but it would be just as hard as the first time, I'm sure. And though I loved my work and I put my heart and soul into it, it was a real passion of mine. Along with all these other reasons why London was becoming too much of a struggle, just contributed to feeling like I had to try something radical. Then there's housing. I've never had my own place. Since moving out, I've been in house shares. As someone who's pretty independent, I've always struggled with that. To be honest, I've had it enough. In London, rent was insane. I worked 5, sometimes 6 days a week just to cover it. And there was barely anything left for, actually living my life. In Thailand, I can afford my own apartment, a proper space, privacy, and it's going to cost a fraction of what I used to pay back home. Everything's more affordable here. Food, activities, even just going out for a coffee. Although not in the most bougie places, for sure. Back in London, doing anything fun meant spending money, even money I didn't have. Here I can enjoy myself. I can live my life instead of just surviving. I'm excited for a fresh start. I've been practicing my Thai. Pom gamlang rian put phasa Thai. I'm still a beginner, but I can't wait to improve and start having proper conversations with people here. I'm also planning to take Thai cooking classes, train Muay Thai, and finally get into yoga. Of course, most of my time will still be spent on 2 wheels, but we'll see how the channel develops as I explore all this. You never know what I might make a video of. So yeah, my own place, my own bike, surrounded by incredible nature, amazing people, delicious food, and actual sunshine, being able to pursue hobbies and passions I couldn't afford to before. All these reasons and more is why I'm making this move, and I'm so excited to bring you along for the ride. Okay, I'll admit it. I'm a bit obsessed with motorbikes. I love them all. From scooters to Harleys to race bikes screaming around the track. Back in the UK I had my Scrambler, but now that I'm here in Thailand, looking at what's available feels like being a kid in a candy shop. Right now the strongest contenders for my next bike are the Triumph Street Triple, 675 or the 765, given that it's only 40-50,000 more, or the sportier Honda CBR 650R. I would love a Triumph Daytona 675, but sadly it seems Thailand never got that model. At least they still have Triumph. There's a lot to consider. Do I trade comfort for performance? What about fuel economy? Reliability? Honestly though, this is the fun part. Shopping around for the perfect machine is its own adventure, and I can't wait to pick up my new ride and start our journey together. And then there's YouTube. I'm pretty new to this whole being a YouTuber thing, but I'm excited to give it my best shot. It's my dream to build this passion into something special. I want to share this incredible country with you. The rides, the food, the people, the hidden spots. Maybe I'll do some vlogs. Take you shopping at a Thai market, come to my cooking classes, chilling on the beach of Krabi, or getting lost in the madness of Bangkok. That could be fun, right? I don't know if I'll be any good at it yet, but I'll try my best to create content that feels authentic to me while still keeping you engaged. And it's not just Thailand. I want to explore more of Southeast Asia. Vietnam is high on my list. I need to complete the Chiang loop. I tried it when I was there in February, but I got very sick and I had to bail, so definitely something that I'm very keen to return to. And I'll take you along for the ride. One day as well, I want to ride from Saigon to Ha Long Bay, just like the Top Gear boys. So stick around and give me your support if you want to see that happen. I'm new to YouTube, figuring it all out as I go, but if you appreciate what I'm doing and want to come along for the ride, hit that subscribe button. The journey's just getting started. So yeah, this is it. A new country, a new chapter, a new bike waiting for me out there somewhere. I started this whole journey because I couldn't imagine life without a motorbike. Losing my first one sucked, but maybe this is life pushing me towards something bigger. Now I get to ride some of the most incredible roads in the world, surrounded by stunning nature, vibrant culture, and food that's so spicy it might actually kill me. This isn't just about motorbikes though. It's about freedom, about actually living, not just existing. And now I want to bring you along for every part of it. The rides, the highs, the inevitable lows, and all the adventures in between. I'm new to YouTube, but this is me sharing my passion, figuring it out as I go. And if you want to be here at the start of this journey, if you want to see what's next, then you know what to do. Hit that subscribe, join the ride, and let's see where this takes us. This is only the beginning. I think I've run out of things to say in this video, but I still got some footage which I want to share. So if you want to stick around and watch that, feel free. I honestly think the scenery, landscapes, footage that I got in the second half of this video is some of the most beautiful footage that I captured. So make sure you stick around to see that. If you don't, thanks for listening. I'm going to try to share more of my stories, more of my thoughts, more of my adventures. Obviously in the future, I'm going to be mic'd up when I'm riding. I didn't mic up while I was riding, and to be honest, on that trip, even if I was mic'd up, I don't think I'd be talking much because I was just enjoying the riding so much. But I'll be mic'd up when I'm out there vlogging, so I can share what I'm thinking, what's going through my mind while I'm riding. But for now, I'm just gonna try and write enough to share some interesting things, tell a few stories, And now that I've said what I wanted to say for this video, just enjoy the riding, and thank you for watching. Ever wonder what it's like to charge through the jungle of northern Thailand on an MT-07? Tight corners, smooth tarmac, and nothing but the roar of the engine and your riding ability to guide you. You're about to see the best riding of the trip so far. This stretch was unreal. The scenery was next level. The bike felt dialed in, and the roads fast, technical, and insanely fun. Sit back and enjoy the ride. You're joining me on day 2 of my motorcycle tour around the Mae Hong Son Loop. I'm taking a slight detour to visit Ban Rak Thai, a tranquil Chinese village nestled deep in the lush backcountry, right on the border between Thailand and Myanmar. By day 2, I've started to really get to grips with the Yami, and I thoroughly enjoyed pushing it a bit more on these technical, twisty mountain roads. For this video, I've decided not to cut out any part of the journey. I've got hours of footage still to come from the rest of the loop, and I'll be adding more voiceovers and commentary to those. But for this one, I wanted to try something different. So from here on out, no music, no talking, just the road, the engine, and the atmosphere of the mountainous jungles of northern Thailand. Hope you enjoy the ride.
kid. You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, stretch, and jump. And you might think, what if I fall? Oh, what if you don't? What if you fly? What if you fly? What if you fly?
When you were young, did you ever have a dream? And you really believed in yourself? You knew you would achieve your dream. It just made sense. Of course you would. And then you get a bit older. Somehow the dream feels impossible. What if I told you it's all just a mindset? You may feel like you've lost your spirit, but you can get it back. You just need to let go of what you've got and send it. Fucking send it. If you got the cojones. Some of you might be wondering, is it safe to ride motorbikes in Thailand? Especially the most powerful bike I've ever ridden. And to them I'd say, it's better than safe. It's amazing. There's barely any traffic, the roads are in such good condition, and the views, my footage, speaks for itself. So if you enjoy what you're seeing, and you want to give it a go for yourself, don't be scared, be excited, because anyone can ride. You just need to grab the handlebars, hang on. Sometimes you just need to fucking send it, yeah! I'm riding a machine built by some of the best engineers and mechanics in the world. Couple that with the physically demanding nature of my career, giving me total confidence in my physical capabilities. And this bike just isn't that intimidating. It's got power, a lot of grunt, but I'm not pushing it that much yet. I think a sharp mind, focus combined with athleticism is the exact right combination to maximize the thrill of the ride. So it's risk management at the end of the day, I would say. And that gives me the confidence to push myself within safe boundaries. This is what I fell in love with right here. These roads, the switching back and forth, these colours in front of my eyes, the changing scenery, the vibrancy of the senses. I could feel so alive. Even the smell of the jungle was so unique. This aromatic floral scent, completely new to me. Something I never could have expected. Smell is one of those senses that connects memories to your consciousness. There's no such thing as a straight road in Thailand. Northern Thailand. I've been to Bangkok. No such thing as a curved road in Bangkok. The riding in Krabi weren't so good either. Scenic, but the roads were uninvigorating. I just love twisting that throttle, feeling the torque of the engine charge you down the road. Approaching a corner, I identify my angle and bank into it. With precision, hitting my line exactly. Spot on. The eagle-eyed among you may have seen the temperature gauge on my dash. It says about 28, 29, and you might be wondering, what's it like to ride in all your gear in these temperatures? And I can honestly say, pretty chill. I get that it wasn't scorching hot on this day, but I did ride in some pretty hot temps. And as soon as you get a bit of speed going, that wind chill effect makes you nice and comfortable. You need to remember, I'm used to the UK, where the weather is cold and wet, which makes it feel even colder. But yeah, it's not often good riding conditions there, to be honest. But that's why we're moving here. Now you don't want to just rock up in Thailand and go rent the most powerful bike you can get without at least having the right documents. So I should say, if you want to do what I'm doing, you need a full driving license from your home country. And you may want to check with your local embassy. But anyways, if you want to do what I'm doing here, and you're from the UK at least, you're going to need the full Category A license. That's unrestricted. And then you'll have to get yourself an IDP, an International Driving Permit. That's right, you can't just have your UK driving license, you also need the IDP to be legal whilst riding a big bike in Thailand. And a couple of other things you should know. It's a legal requirement to wear a helmet, not to mention common bloody sense. So always wear your lid when you're out there. And if you don't have the right documents, and if you're not wearing a helmet, you can expect to pay a heavy fine. You might be someone who gets motion sick. I spoke to a lot of people while I was here who'd taken a bus to get where they wanted to go on these same roads, and they were so bendy that these people were getting motion sick. And I honestly just had to laugh, because in my opinion as a biker, roads just don't get better than this. It's just funny that they're over there retching at the back of a bus and I'm having the time of my life. But hey, they could have ridden around northern Thailand as well if they wanted to. And so can you. If you want to come out to Thailand and experience this amazing country for yourself, do me a favor and hit that like button. So, in moments like these, I either have to pinch myself because I feel like I'm dreaming, or I'm so deep in the flow state, locked the fuck in, just focused on the road, on my machine, and the complete focus as everything else melts into the background and all that exists is now, and the ultimate feeling of power, speed, agility, freedom, and the thrill. Okay, you might be wondering, how much is it gonna cost me to move out here and get the setup that I want? There's definitely lots to consider. The biggest expense is probably gonna be my bike. You've got to think about rent for the year. What sort of visa are you gonna get? That could influence the costs enormously. But the best thing is day-to-day essentials, food, shopping, etc. All of that is so much more affordable here. If you've watched this far, thanks a lot for watching. Let me know if you have any feedback. I was kind of just riffing in this video, watching my footage and sharing my thoughts, see if I had any memories come back, and just trying to have a bit of fun with it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, drop me a comment and subscribe for more. Peace.